2695, the Youth Ventures Joint Powers Authority. Colleagues, as you know, we have been talking about the Youth Ventures Joint Powers Authority and restructuring the organization, the way that group is administered for quite a while. You have published with the agenda was a report from the last meeting of the board of the Joint Powers Authority, on which Director Spearman and Director Yee and I sit, as well as Deputy Superintendent Santos and Superintendent Smith. And this is a discussion item. Basically, the JPA is proposing to restructure the way in which it is administered, bringing in a different staffing structure and a different fiscal agent. I wanted to make sure that the Oakland Unified School District Board had the opportunity to review the proposal and indicate whether you have any concerns about the direction in which the JPA is going. So that is the item that's before us, and if you have any comments or discussion, we can move into that now. Director Kakishiba.
Yes, so one is, in terms of, as a matter of process, because I don't know what we're not able to vote on this discussion item. So one thing would be helpful is that the 5 representatives of the school district are able to get together to take a look at these recommendations, including the feedback from tonight, and if need be, bringing it back to the board if it requires some kind of action on the part of the board.
Okay.
I just have 3 points that I wanted to raise that for your consideration.
Okay.
The first one is, I think, again, I have stated time and again that there are plenty, or I shouldn't say plenty, there are quite a number of interagency and intergovernmental collaborations that are going on between the county, the city, and the school district. And there are a number of tables. There's the Boys and Men of Color table. There's the Building Healthy Communities table. There's the School-Based Health Centers table. There's after school, summer learning and after school learning table. There's the Juvenile Justice Center initiative table, and yet none of these are within the jurisdiction or within the attention of the Joint Powers Authority. So one of the things I think would be helpful, not helpful, one of the things I think is absolutely necessary is absolute clarity as to the purpose and goals and objectives of the Joint Powers Authority. What is the added value of the Joint Powers Authority? Why does it require the creation of a extra governmental authority with enormous powers related to a government agency? That's one. So if we can get some clarity, and I think the 5 representatives, it would be very helpful to get your take on what that could be in terms of the district's self-interest in participating. The second point I wanted to raise is that in the Joint Powers Authority agreement, the number of votes that each institution has, 5 votes per agency, with I think San Lorenzo School District with 2 votes, seems to me an incredibly unwieldy body. It's not prone to be nimble and to move quickly that I think a Joint Powers Authority is supposed to be about. I would strongly recommend that the number of votes per agency is reduced to 2, not more than 3, so that we have a working, active governing body for that. And once we get clarity on both of those 2 items, I'm more than happy to support restoring. I don't know what our situation is for this fiscal year, but last year we did not make a cash payment membership fee, but we did do in-kind. So that's my feedback.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Director Caio?
Yes, I would like to second the comments of Director Kakashiba, but I think just to be a little more clear, for me, I think the real outcomes have to be clearly defined.
Yeah.
And the real outcomes, us being a Oakland Unified School District, what are the real outcomes that we will define for children that we're trying to serve? The second one is when it comes to, I agree with the number of members on the committee, but I also would like to recommend that perhaps, we rotate the term, we establish a 2-year term limit so the members of this board get an opportunity to serve on that JPA and be able to rotate the leadership on that group as well.
Can I ask you a clarifying question?
Right.
Is that, are you suggesting that 2-year rotation be just for the OUSD representatives or for all of the representatives?
I represent the Oakland Unified School District, so I would begin there. That the serving members on and I've had the opportunity to serve. And so I think that every 2 years, Director Spearman has been on there a number of years, and that, she would serve 2 years, and that would allow Jamoki to do another 2 years. So this way we get an opportunity to keep it fresh and to keep it moving. So the third item that I would also, or the question that I would have is in terms of hiring a new director, what role does OUSD play in that selection, and what reporting role does that new direct have in terms of the relationship with Oakland Unified School District?
That question, I can actually answer that.
Yeah.
The proposal from the subcommittee somehow I lost the actual memo. The proposal from the subcommittee, and Director Spearman will correct me if I have it in front of me. Well, if I misstate it, would be that there be a hiring committee formed from within the JPA board, and that board and that committee would then go through a hiring process and do a search and then come forward with candidates.
All right, so I guess the big issue for me is the real outcomes that we're setting out to accomplish with this JPA. I mean, you and I, President, and other members have had the opportunity to sit on the city-school partnership, and it hasn't gone very far, and we hit and miss here and there. So I think that we have an opportunity here to make it very clear. So the last question I have for you, since you brought it up, what is the investment on OUSD towards this JPA financially?
So the MOU calls for dues from each member agency of $150,000 per year, and then San Lorenzo Unified had a lesser dues structure. Last year, OUSD requested the opportunity to provide in-kind payment, so we provided significant services through our various departments, particularly around research and data, and also Associate Superintendent Saricki was very involved there, as I understand it. So those were our in-kind contributions. Under this proposal, we haven't definitely defined what OUSD's contribution would be and whether we would continue to provide in-kind, but we did offer to provide at least office space for the new staff in one of our facilities, and that would hopefully count towards our contribution, but we haven't defined that. So that was one of the other items that we wanted to
So
bring
the board
forward.
will have that opportunity to say yes or no to the financial
Right,
match.
and I was going to ask if we wanted to have that conversation tonight, but being mindful of the request from
Yeah.
Director Kakashiba, we may be able to bring that at another
Right.
time. Director Spearman, you serve on this body with me. Did you wish to add anything?
The only thing I wish to add is, I've been on it 2 years, and I believe, no matter what's written down, the purpose of the JPA was founded as a nonprofit agent for safe passages. And since I've sat on the JPA, all it's ever done was have discussions about safe passages. I want to ensure that this JPA has discussions about all organizations that have something to do with youth inside of Oakland, and all the youth that especially touch Oakland Unified. There was discussion about San Lorenzo dropping out and forming another JPA with the county because they don't receive so many services from Safe Passages and that OUSD does. But for it to be there and us not only partnering with Safe Passages and providing office space and phones and paper and everything else that they use on our sites to accomplish their mission, and also us paying an extra $150,000 plus giving them all the data and everything else that they use, one entity, you have to bring in other entities. So I think my focus is to bring in other entities and to have a greater discussion about providers for youth in the city of Oakland and the county of Oakland that services our youth. So that's what I would like to see. And that's why I think we also talked about not only forming the committee to look at and recommend a director, but also we're looking at, again, what is the function of the JPA? And how wide is the JPA going to get? Because it's not going to be this little single entity no more. I think that got cracked. They held on to it, and until Oakland finally stood up and said, we're not giving you cash. We're going to give you in-kind services, and they got along just fine. They got along just fine without that cash. So if we're going to do it, I think we need to be more inclusive. And I think this would be a good vehicle to be inclusive. So, because, you know, the school partnership thing with the city kind of ain't working. So maybe this could be another vehicle for that, you know?
Thank you. So, Vice President Hinton Hodge, did you have any questions or opinions?
I would pretty much just echo, I guess, everyone that has said something. And as I sit here, and I remember as we talked about this over the last couple of years, you know, not to fund it, I'm concerned. We're recommending how to make it better, and yet I'm a bit questioning on whether or not we need it at all. So I don't know if we, again, tried to make it better to service in a real way, or are we kind of avoiding not having it? So that's a question that maybe I can give to the people who are on the board. Like, did that surface as a dialogue?
I mean, you know, Director Gallo, you were on the Safe Passages Board for a while. So you kind of know how all this came about, and then not only were you on the Safe Passages Board, but you served simultaneously on the JPA.
Right.
You know, so you kind of know how that went. But I think in 2012, now as we move forward, more entities really need to be at the table if it's going to be a JPA for youth organizations that serve our children, because our children have many needs, and we need many intervention accesses. And I listened to Director Kakashiba just name off the different, quote, tables that are out there. Some of those folks need to be sitting at that table. Right.
But I think,
so I don't know.
but, you know, Madam Chair, I think this is where Director Hodge is going, that, you know, if it's just going to become another discussion entity, and this is what's David, we already have enough discussion in the city of Oakland. It's really about, so I'm going to invest $100 and something. I'd rather pay for 2-3 teachers to get something done than give it to some. And I'm not saying that for those reasons, but I think otherwise, you know, it's like working with the city partnership. The intentions are good, but then we just talk at each other, and we really didn't share any resources or get anything accomplished as a city. So I'd rather invest that money. And unless you can come back and define, you know, the outcome is going to be X, Y, Z, right? And we're not just going to come to the table and talk, because we did a lot of talking at the JPA and Safe Passages. That the advantage they were able to provide the kids is they had the Atlantic Foundation, and they do after-school programs. Outside of that, it's
Right, so
questionable. Anyway,
just
so
to be-
that's my
Just to be clear,
recommendation.
the renewal,
Yeah.
the renewal
Yeah.
of the grant from the
Yeah.
Atlantic
Yeah.
Philanthropies was contingent on the JPA restructuring
Right.
its administration structure in this way. So this was done directly responsive to the funder, saying we need to see separate staffing that's going to allow you to move more toward the issues. My interest in bringing this to the board was that we were asked at the last JPA board meeting to vote on this, and we, all of us from OUSD said, no, we cannot just vote on this here. We wanted to make sure that our colleagues are on board with this. So this is exactly the conversation we wanted to have, and we appreciate your input. Then that we have some time to work this in with the JPA schedule. Mr. Rakestraw, are there any, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, just a really quick question, a summary of the next steps, number 5, could you explain that to me? So minus the $75,000 voted to assist in the transition period, what is that?
This is that they wanted to, they're just trying to, they were, when we looked at this, I think the meeting was September 24th, they were hoping that that the JPA board would give them the go-ahead to move ahead with these steps. And when I said, no, we're not, Oakland Unified is not ready to do that, we need some time to make sure that our board is supportive of this. So we slowed it down, so these would still be next steps, but we now have an opportunity to engage around
And why do
this.
they need $75K to transition? Is that to move out of our space?
No, they are continuing to have safe passages provide very minimal administrative services since this thing disbanded, from its prior structure sometime this summer. Okay, are there speaker cards on this item?
So we have one card, Jim Mordecai.